Hello, I'm Daniel Turner, an environmental biologist who has been at the forefront of animal welfare and protection policy in tourism for 2 decades. I've instigated and created industry guidance, and I advocate animal friendly travel where tourism is part of the solution.
And I'm Helen Usher, a communications and partnership specialist with over a decade of experience in fundraising and marketing for NGOs and developing partnerships between these good causes and corporates to ensure everyone can play their part in delivering positive impact.
We are the co-founders and directors of Animundial, a tourism-focused consultancy specializing in animal and nature protection.
And in collaboration with the Adventure Travel Trade Association, we are delivering an educational course on protecting animals in adventure travel to help the sector navigate the complexities of the topic, learn how to identify and minimize negative impact on animals, and where possible, apply nature positive action across your value chain.
Protecting animals in tourism is a complex topic. Just consider the thousands of different species involved in a variety of different activities. Activities viewing wild animals that are free to roam in the wild, opportunities to see wild animals kept in a captive environment, and predominantly domestic animals used to carry people or loads. Some animal species are highly dangerous, others can carry fatal disease, whilst others threaten to imbalance whole ecosystems on which we rely. There is a great deal to consider before deciding how to interact with animals and knowing what to sell and what not to sell.
And Animondio is here to help you every step of the way, providing you the means to select animal-friendly products and experiences, help end the exploitation of animals, ensure effective communications with your customers, and how to work with your destination partners, suppliers, and local communities to safeguard animals and the natural environment throughout your supply chain.
As a travel provider, tour guide, or even accommodation provider that offers animal activities, you have a duty of care not only to your customers and their welfare, but also to any animals involved in your tourism activities and product offerings. A negative customer experience as a result of poor animal welfare will likely result in complaints and wider challenges.
And travellers are increasingly aware about tourism's impact on animals and the natural environment. Numerous public opinion polls evidence that your customers or travellers to your destination are likely to expect their tour operator or tour guide to take animal welfare seriously, while 71% of people consulted said they were more likely to buy holidays from travel providers that care for animals.
Whilst in some destinations, cultural practices with animals may now be considered outdated or unnecessary, cruel or exploitative. However, modifying the activity could provide an alternative option, removing the harmful elements whilst maintaining the cultural significance and continuing to support local livelihoods.
So consider this course an integral part of your business and destination offering as you seek to build back better and strive to fulfill the UN Sustainable Development Goals, halt biodiversity loss, and achieve net zero. So, what can you expect to gain from this course, and why are the topics covered by this ATA training course so significant, perhaps more than ever before, to the planet, people, and profits?
There is now no doubt animal exploitation, disease pandemics, biodiversity loss, and climate change are all interconnected. They cannot be addressed individually, only together, whilst all threaten our well-being, prosperity, and survival. All these challenges stem from the often exploitative human activity on the natural world, whether that be deforestation, global warming, illegal wildlife trade, pollution, or poor animal welfare. The costs of inaction will be far greater than the costs of resolution, whereby everybody will be infected unless everybody plays their part.
And with the right knowledge and tools, travel and tourism can play their part, but further be influential and a force for good, better protecting animals and nature, safeguarding livelihoods, and sustaining travel. Join this journey to identify your dependencies on nature, reduce your negative impacts, and understand what you can give back, allowing nature to flourish. So, in a nutshell, this Animondial and Adventure Travel Trade Association course aims to inform, inspire, and empower travel and tourism to minimize its negative impacts on nature by reducing activities that drive biodiversity loss, regenerate and restore ecosystems in partnership with others, applying animal-friendly, nature-positive action across your value chain, and invest in nature-based, community-led solutions that support local people who live alongside natural areas and encourage nature guardianship. This course will not only provide you with the knowledge and tools to assess your operational dependencies on animals and nature, but further identify opportunity to reduce impact and improve your operations and activities to overcome industry challenges and bring greater value and therefore better protection of nature. Taking the complete course, all 7 sessions of it, we aspire to create industry champions in animal and nature protection in tourism, helping to position travel and tourism as a force for good. Each session in this course will focus on a key element of reduce, restore, and empower, covering hot topics that include nature tourism, animal welfare protection, product procurement, threatened species and wildlife trade, social impact and community engagement, and business integration. Opt for the course that most interests you, perhaps a combination to further your knowledge, or why not follow the whole course from the beginning to end? The introduction ultimately introduces you to the Animondial and ATA Animal Protection in Adventure Travel course, providing insight into the involvement of animals in tourism, its complexities, and the business case for the better protection of animals and nature.
Session 2, entitled Connecting with Nature, recognises our reliance on nature, not only in that it provides a uniqueness to the destinations we love to visit, but in the fact that nature and biodiversity ensures our clean air, fresh water and nutritious food, and everything that ensures our health and security. This session also considers the importance of nature to tourism, how travel connects people with nature, and how, when managed well, tourism can influence its better protection. Session 3 introduces animal welfare science as an integral component to animal protection in tourism. The session considers how different animal-based activities in tourism can negatively impact on an animal's welfare and species survival, what measures are necessary to ensure animal well-being, and how travel providers can influence improved standards throughout the supply chain. Session 4 provides impartial advice and practical guidance on the selection of animal-based product and activities in your tours and itineraries, encouraging animal-friendly practices. Considering the broad spectrum of animal activities, this session identifies those of high risk, guidance on how to safeguard the welfare of animals and your customers, and actions your businesses can take to eliminate animal exploitation and generate greater sales.
Session 5 focuses on illegal wildlife trade and how the trade and sale in threatened species of animals and plants is not only causing species to go extinct and driving biodiversity loss, but also exposing people to dangerous zoonotic disease. The session explains how tourism can actually proliferate illegal wildlife trade, what measures are necessary to curb it, and provides an insight into what animals and plants are commonly but illegally traded. Section 6 will be looking at how you can make your business a force for good. This will include an understanding of the terms social impact and CSR, how you can create your individual sustainability commitment that aligns with global goals and guidelines, including SDGs. We will also consider the importance of working in collaboration with other organisations, whether they be councils, businesses, or NGOs. And finally, how we, as travel businesses, can make a positive contribution through investment in nature-based solutions. Finally, Section 7 will take the learnings and recommended approaches from all previous sessions and provide a step-by-step practical approach to explain how these can be integrated throughout the functions of your business and those of your in-destination partners. From defining your animal protection commitment through to effective methods to communicate your actions and safeguards, this session will provide you with everything you need to know to put our theory into practice and become animal protection champions. Animondio is a consultancy specialising in animal and nature protection in tourism. Daniel Turner, co-director of Animondio, has been at the forefront of animal protection policy development and delivery for over 20 years.
Whilst Helen Usher, co-director of Animondial, has created and led award-winning social impact partnerships. Together we provide impartial advice and practical guidance to inform, inspire and empower travel businesses and tour guides to better protect animals and nature in your operations.
And in collaboration with the Adventure Travel Trade Association, we aim to celebrate the importance of nature and the animals and biodiversity that underpin it. Managed poorly, travel and tourism can have a hugely detrimental impact on animals, wild habitats and natural resources.
But managed well, tourism can be a force for good, influencing and encouraging the better protection of animal welfare, species conservation and nature protection. This course will provide all that you need to know to minimize negative impact and allow nature to flourish. Let's consider animals in tourism for a moment. There are literally thousands of different species of animal involved in hundreds of different activities and experiences in most destinations. They include wild animals viewed by tourists as they freely roam or swim in the wild. There are animals kept and displayed in captive environments such as zoos, marine parks and animal sanctuaries. And then there are domestic animals that are used to carry people and loads. And lastly, those animals that wander the destination streets that inadvertently has contact with tourists. The scope of animal activities and opportunities to interact with animals in destinations is both broad and complex. Managed well, considering the welfare needs of the individual animals and ensuring the protection of species and their natural habitats, tourism can help cement best practice. Managed poorly, however, by not safeguarding animals in your supply chain, not positively engaging your attraction suppliers to ensure animal protections are in place, and permitting the exploitation of animals for entertainment purposes will result in negative impact on animals, your customers, local people's livelihoods, the natural environment, and ultimately business operation and profits. The involvement of animals in tourism is not insignificant. In fact, across the global travel and tourism market, wildlife tourism has a share of 7%, and post-pandemic, this was rising by 3% per annum, with wildlife viewing activities in greater demand according to 58% of all European tour operators. Although this percentage does exclude visits to see animals in a captive environment and other interactions like riding a horse or an elephant, surveys of travel providers demonstrate that animal-based activities are important to the market, with between 60 to 70% of organised tours and holiday activity offerings said to involve animals and nature to some degree. Natural places, commonly recognised as nature, does not only provide a home to the millions of other animals and plants, but also ensures the fresh air that we breathe, clean water and nutritious food, but is also pivotal to our well-being and prosperity. A WWF report has recently stated that 93% of all recognised natural heritage sites support recreation and tourism, with 91% supporting jobs. In fact, the World Economic Forum estimates nature's economic value generation at 44 trillion US dollars. That's over half the world's GDP. Recognizing that the travel and tourism sector accounts for 10.4% of global GDP, wildlife tourism, that excludes activities involving animals in a captive environment, represents 3.9% of this figure, apparently equivalent to the entire GDP of South Africa or Hong Kong. In 2018, wildlife tourism generated 120 billion US dollars and some 4.4% of estimated direct global travel and tourism GDP, and directly supported 9.1 million jobs. When including indirect and induced benefits of wildlife tourism, its economic contribution was 343.6 billion US dollars and supported over 21.8 million jobs. Considering wildlife tourism in the different regions of the world, in Europe, it's largely underrepresented, with wildlife tourism accounting for 1.6% of regional GDP. In North America, it is 2%, whilst in Asia Pacific, 5.8%, Latin America 8.6%, and hugely significant, in Africa, wildlife tourism accounts for 36.3% of GDP. Managed well, protecting animals and natural habitats, travel and tourism has the means to provide decent work and economic growth, encourage responsible and sustainable consumption, improve local community well-being, and influence the better protection of life on Earth and life below water. Africa is overwhelmingly the most popular destination for travellers wanting to see wildlife. According to the UNWTO, almost half of world wildlife watching trips are booked in Africa. In fact, travel providers refer to 70 to 80% of holidays to Africa involving wildlife, with an estimate of 14 African nations contributing to at least 168 million US dollars from tourists visiting protected areas. In southern Africa, for instance, wildlife tourism equates to 80% of total tourism revenues. With Africa the most popular region for wildlife tourism, Asia Pacific is the second, according to the report by the UNWTO, 96% of travellers to some destinations in Asia Pacific said that they visited with the aim of undertaking a wildlife tour. North America is the third when it comes to wildlife tourism popularity, and South America the fourth. Crazy considering that destination has the highest biodiversity. Wildlife tourism plays an important role in low-income countries. Low-income countries are expected to amount to over 1 billion international visitors and take over 57% of the total market share of international tourism arrivals in 2030. Low-income countries contain the world's highest levels of biodiversity and offer some of the world's most famous wildlife viewing destinations. There is a lot of potential in these locations where adventure travel really has an opportunity to play a significant role. After COVID-19, people are becoming more aware of the current biodiversity loss and climate change crises. The demand for sustainability is increasing. So too is the importance for animal welfare and better care. Recent surveys of the public indicate that 66% of people said that they would have concerns about the wider impacts of tourism, in particular how animals are treated, while 71% of people are more likely to buy holidays from travel providers that care for animals, and a whopping 90% of customers of a particular travel business said that it was important that their company takes animal welfare seriously. With more tourists wanting to connect with nature and a higher understanding on how tourism can harm animals and nature, there is likely to be a heightened demand for sustainable wildlife travel options. Our ultimate goal is to protect and restore nature and biodiversity, considered integral to achieving net zero. But this can only be fulfilled by safeguarding the welfare of the individual animal, their local populations and their species. Animundial has ensured that this training course will provide you with the knowledge and the means to protect animals throughout your operations and activities in your destinations. Always consider the welfare needs of animals you seek to protect, and their protection will be so much easier. You and your business have an important role to play. In fact, the adventure travel community is uniquely positioned to inform and inspire travelers about animals and nature and their importance. Ensuring the traveler's understanding that other animals are also sentient, that the trade in certain animals and their parts causes mass extinctions and exposes humans to disease, and that nature is also vital to our well-being and survival. This will naturally lead you and your clients or customers to better appreciate and value animals and their species, which ultimately encourages greater respect and then the need for people to protect them and their natural environments.
This course will ensure an understanding of animal protection through tourism, why animal and nature protection is vital to lessen climate change and protect people against disease, how to minimise or avoid negative impact, how to integrate best practice and shout about it, and how to overcome industry challenges and bring greater value and protection to nature. So that is your overview of the course, and here it is in a nutshell. We look forward to taking you through each stage in detail and welcoming you on this inspiring journey to make your travel business and tours a leading force for the better protection of animals and nature. See you there.